The following feature presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
All wings report in, Skywalkers, and welcome to Resistance Flyby, our recap review show where we buzz through each of the 22 episodes of the new animated Disney series, Star Wars Resistance. And in case you haven't watched them yet, there will be spoilers! Now, my name is Sarah Woloski, and flying with me through this journey is my husband, Richard.
Hey everyone! In this episode, we will fly by Episode 6, The Children from Tehar, which aired on November the 4th, 2018. And just so you can follow at home, we are following the StarWars.com's numbering system for these episodes. Some sites consider the first episode, The Recruit, as one episode, and some sites has it as two.
So we are going to go with StarWars.com,
Yes.
which lists this as Season 1, Episode 6.
Yeah, they are the gospel.
Exactly. Children of Tehar was directed by Saul Ruiz, who also directed many Star Wars Rebels episodes, including The Future of the Force, Legends of the Lasat, and Shroud of Darkness. Now, those episodes, I remember especially Legends of Lasat.
Oh, fantastic episode. I love backstory on any character.
Absolutely. Now, he also worked on the Clone Wars as a 3D story artist and was also an animator on The Force Unleashed 2.
And this episode was written by Paul Giacopo, who also worked in the Star Wars universe as a digital character model supervisor on Rogue One. He also worked in the digital modeling department on the prequels, as well as a computer graphic artist on the original Star Wars.
What? Really?
Yeah, so I'm guessing all of those very 2D shots of the Death Star were all because of Paul.
Nice.
I did look him up, and there was nothing really pinpointing him to those graphics.
Okay.
But computer graphic artist? How many computer graphics are there in Star Wars?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. But it's interesting that he's been an artist and now he's writing.
Well, yeah, you can move up that ladder very, very quickly in the Star Wars universe. Look at Ben Burtt.
Oh.
Starting off as a sound engineer, and now he's writing and directing Star Wars.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Yeah, he did several of the episodes of Droids.
Okay.
In 1985, including The Great Heap, the TV movie. He did lots of Clone Wars episodes.
Oh.
And little things here and there, including some books.
Nice. All right, now we have some new characters on this episode, Kel and Ayla, and these are the kids of the children of Tehar. And Ayla is voiced by Nikki Suhu, who also voiced Betty in the Heathers TV show. And she did lots of voice work on the animated show Shimmer and Shine, and she plays Kira in Escape the Night TV series.
Now, Anthony Del Rio, he plays the older brother Kel. He's voiced many characters in animated shows like Avengers Assemble, Lego Marvel's Avengers, and can be seen in the upcoming She-Ra and the Princess of Power TV series.
Woohoo!
I didn't know this was happening.
Oh, yeah. They announced it. I believe New York Comic Con, they had a whole bunch of press on this. Yeah, it's coming back.
All right, just about everything is coming back.
Yes. Okay, so let's get into our episode synopsis for Children of Tehar. In need of credits to fix a broken compensator part, Kaz turns bounty hunter and intends to find two missing children to claim the necessary credits. Meanwhile, thank you. Captain Doza speaks to Captain Phasma and learns that the bounty for the children was set by the First Order. Phasma claims that they are only trying to find the kids of a high-ranking family in the First Order and sends the gold stormtrooper, Commander Pyre, to the Colossus to collect them.
So, Sarah, what are your initial thoughts on The Children from Tehar?
Okay, so after our first viewing, in which we just watch it, we don't take notes or anything like that, I felt that it was a little underwhelming compared to something like Fuel for the Fire, which was a pretty exciting episode. And I thought that things seemed to fall into place too easily to move the story along. You know, here Kaz needs credits, and then all of a sudden, here's some people talking about 20,000 credits, and then, oh, here's the kids that need the 20,000 credits. Like, it just was very, very fast. So I thought that was a little like, I don't know about that. But we do get some character relationships falling into place, like Tam and Kaz. They're kind of going for this brother-sister feel, the antagonistic toward each other, brother-sister feel. And
where one is jealous of the other because the other is getting more.
Exactly, yeah. So I definitely feel that a little more. And we also had some new creatures, so that was fun. But overall, my initial feeling about this episode was underwhelming.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can see how this episode will appeal to kids since it features two kids named Kel and Ayla, and they're about the age of the viewers.
Yes.
6 to 10 years old. So I can see where these kids will enjoy watching the adventures of these kids, or lack thereof. We'll get to that in a few more minutes, too.
Okay.
And this episode does have a lot of Saturday morning cartoon moments with its slapstick physical comedy.
Definitely.
So I can see how the kids would really, really get into that. Because I know when I was a kid, I loved slapstick comedy. Didn't care about the story. I wanted to see the Roadrunner hitting a wall.
Right,
or
right.
rather, the Wile E. Coyote hit a wall. Roadrunner never hit a wall. Just want to make sure that was said.
Yes.
Now, it's hard to judge this episode because it is a very small part of a larger story, which we haven't seen yet.
Okay, I think we'll figure out more about that as we go through this episode. So let's get nitty gritty into this, and let's talk about our thoughts as we watched this episode. So as I was mentioning in my initial thoughts, the character relationships are more fleshed out. So Tam, who has been unlikable really up until this point, she has mellowed out a bit. So instead of being always upset, she's just resorted to vexing Kaz whenever she can, like in the opening scene here.
Hey, what's going on? Can I help?
No offense, Kaz, but installing an acceleration compensator requires a little more finesse than, you.
Oh, that was cold. That was cold-blooded.
Yeah, but she's just razzing him,
There's some truth there.
Well, yes.
She's not just vexing him to vex him.
Oh,
to
I
vex
know.
him. She really believes that you just go away because you're not worthy of this chore right now.
Right. But instead of snapping at him, she's more teasing him about it. So
She's jabbing him.
Yeah, exactly. So
if this were on Earth, she'd be dabbing him.
Oh. Yeah, so they're like the brother and sister, and then Neeku is kind of like their younger, innocent little brother who's just all wide eyes and innocence.
Just full of positivity and gusto.
Yeah, he doesn't see the subtext, so it's all good.
Like he's trying to yin to Tam's yang.
Right.
Now, like you were saying earlier about things happening too quickly, very much so. Very, very much so. As a kid, it really bothered me when things happen too conveniently in TV shows.
Really?
When I was watching this, I really try to watch it through the eyes of my 6 to 8-year-old self.
Oh, good. Okay.
And, of course, they have to have things move so quickly just to get the story moving.
Right.
But when we hear the Godel and the Rodian talk about these two missing kids and how there's a large bounty, well, cut to the kids who just they could be anywhere in the galaxy, but they're right there in the Colossus.
Uh-huh.
And once again, as a kid, it always bothered me that things were happening way too conveniently.
Wow, as a kid, I never thought about it.
Yeah, I did. I did. And I know earlier I said that the story didn't really matter as much as to the physical slapstick comedy, but it was moments like this that I thought the producers, the writers were almost talking down to kids. And in the 70s, it was always shut up and sit down.
Wait, what?
To kids.
Wait,
So,
on TV shows?
no,
Or
just in general. In general.
Okay.
So I hated, no, my parents never talked to me that way, but that was just a general thing. Like in school, you'd try to bring up a point, shut up and sit down. So I always like to look further into things. And so I don't want to shut up and sit down. I got a point to make. So I was very analytical.
Okay.
So it was very, very obvious what was happening, that, hey, we have to get the story moving, so let's conveniently say, hey, what you're looking for, the MacGuffin, just to your left.
Oh.
Like, whoa, really?
You're right.
Now, I did get an Ewok adventure sense from this episode, because you have the two kids, they're missing, But unfortunately, that's where the comparisons ended. Because in the Ewok adventure, there's more of a backstory that is flushed out, where in this story, there really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, with only 22 minutes, there was only so much story they could tell.
So with that, this should be a part 1.
Right.
Because when it ended, it's, well, now what? Now what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So if it had been a part 1, then we would have known, okay, there's a much bigger story that's going to continue. Now, these kids were set up with such a big mystery of who they are and why the First Order wants them. But from what I can tell, the next episode, Signal from Sector 6, does not deal with them at all, which annoys me that you have this big story. Let's keep going with this.
Right.
We have some momentum. The story on the larger scale of Resistance is starting to kick in. We gotten all the character development out of the way. Now let's kick into story. Now, this cannot be a one-off since there's way too much set up.
Right.
Now, when the kids are hiding out and they're below the floor, Kel says that they are safe, and Ayla says that they are never safe from him. And what she's referring to is Kylo Ren. They were on the run from Kylo Ren in the First Order. And if Kylo Ren wants you, there's a story to be told there.
Where are your parents, young ones?
Gone. Our whole village is gone. We're the only survivors.
So who was it that destroyed your people?
Kylo Ren.
What is a Kylo Ren?
That's what his army called him. He was dressed in black, carried a laser sword like the old Jedi stories.
My sister and I barely escaped this destruction. He brought a small army with him. We snuck onto a cargo ship and made it off Tehar without being seen.
Now, Kylo has just destroyed their people on Tehar, which asks the question, was there a clue on Tehar that would lead Kylo to Luke Skywalker?
Ooh, that's a good question.
This is right before The Force Awakens, and Kylo is on the hunt for Luke. So do these kids have a connection to Luke's whereabouts? And was Lor San Tekka on Tehar?
Okay.
So their story here, I'm waiting.
Right.
I want to see this. You got my interest. Now, on a side note, I looked up Tehar to see if this had been mentioned in the past. Only thing I got was that Tehar is a way to express laughter, such as ha ha.
Where is this from?
I just Googled Tehar.
Oh.
So I guess it's like a hardy har har.
Oh.
Tehar har har. Don't blame me, blame the internet.
Interesting. All right, wait. Rahet. No, I was trying to do it backwards, but that doesn't say anything either.
Right. Now, speaking of Tehar har har har, there are so many laugh out loud Saturday morning moments with Kaz's physical comedy, like when he's falling backwards over BB-8.
Oh my gosh, that was awesome.
Yeah, and like when the Ugnaught is jumping and falls on Bowser, and then the Gorg lands on the Ugnaught's nose.
Yeah. I did enjoy that comedy bits. In fact, one of my standout moments was Kaz falling backwards on BB-8. And just like he kind of lands there, and BB-8's like,
yeah, and his body is like a perfect arch.
Yes.
Over BB-8's ball.
Yeah. And speaking to that point, the animation is what's really making this physical comedy happen. And basically, it's using all the animation tools going all the way back to the 1920s. And in fact, we have a Skywalker who is a character animator, and she was tweeting some fascinating info on the animation specifics of Star Wars Resistance. So I asked if we could use some of her tweets.
Oh, let's go through these.
So Alex Leonis, she is currently a character animator working on Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. So exciting. And when we first covered Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, she kind of tweeted at us and was like, hey, I work on this show. So it was awesome. And she tweeted some thoughts about the animation of Star Wars Resistance. And she just has such great expertise. So here is what she says. I love what the animators have been doing with Resistance. They're really pushing stretch and squash, overlap and follow through, and secondary action. It's something that never stood out as much on Clone Wars and Rebels, and it's giving a super fluid look to the show.
I think because this show is so much brighter than Rebels and Clone Wars, we get to see the background action.
Yeah, that
and
makes
the aliens in the background.
That makes a lot of sense. And she even puts pictures here of the animation, and you see Kaz with like crazy expressions, and his arms are not.
He's like Stretch Armstrong in this
Yes.
spot. His arms are doing things that a human arm cannot do.
Yeah, especially one arm is like up in kind of an L, and the other it's like a big S or something.
You're right. Yeah, his arms do form the shape of a big S.
Yes,
as if he's like triple jointed.
Yeah, and Alex goes on to say, Kaz's arms are literally breaking, but it goes by so fast that you can't tell. By doing that, it really livens up the characters who would be very stiff and static otherwise. So instead of like, a soldier with arms that are bending, perfectly. And okay, so she goes on to say it's a less extreme version of old rubber hose cartoons from the 20s. And she has a gif here of Mickey Mouse playing a drum with his arms, and his arms are all like loosey-goosey. Yeah, they are. Noodle arms. And same with this little duck here in the corner. His neck is like doing all sorts of weird S shapes.
Now, side note here,
Yes.
do you think this type of animation would have been better suited for someone like Neeku?
Ooh. Yes, I do.
Yeah, he's the character that really calls out for this slapsticky form of animation. Not so much Kaz. Kaz should be more straightforward. Mm-hmm. Because Kaz should not be the goofy character he's turning out to be.
Right.
Because, dude, you're a spy for the Resistance.
Well,
So it's working against his character, I think, the animation.
okay, but there are some animation points that are working really well, and Alex tweets, I also want to point out how nice the shoulder accents are on this show. Sometimes using a whole arm to act something out can be distracting or over-animated. Shoulder shrugs can do a lot for acting without over-complicating things. And she's inserted pictures of Kaz. He's kind of shrugging in one shot. His shoulders are up. And the next shot, his shoulders are down, and his arms haven't moved all that much.
So these are the kinds of things that really speak out to Alex, whereas like Classic Creatures sticks out to me.
Exactly.
And musical breakdowns really call out to you.
Yes.
So I'm sure it takes her a couple of times to watch an episode because she's just focused on the animation and the arms.
Right. And even to this point, she goes on to say, this is a good example of the follow-through action I mentioned in the first tweet. Kaz's arms, body, and head all hit an accent at different times. Even the two arms aren't twinning, like going up at the same time.
Right.
So like his head goes back and both arms go up, but each of those 3 points are hitting at different moments just to give it more of a realistic feel.
I think that speaks on a positive note to this show that we all watch it focused on something else, which forces us to watch it a couple of times because there's so much going on.
Right.
Like with Alex's call-outs to the animation, and before this, I'd never even noticed that.
Right.
So I love hearing people's specialties, or specialities, as Obi-Wan says.
Chancellor Palpatine, Sith Lords are our speciality.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Yeah, she just has one more point to say, and she shows a close-up of Kaz's face in which his eyebrow moves and his head moves, but hardly anything else does. And she says, sometimes less is more. There's barely any movement except for the eyes and brows, and that really sells the acting in this particular scene. So she's just kind of commenting on how, as a character animator, you have many different choices on how to act out your characters. And I thought it was a great commentary. So I think next time we see another episode, we'll be paying more attention to these.
Well, I did see that Kaz's eyebrow had lifted.
Yes.
And I was always so jealous of people who could do that.
Oh, me too.
Like when John Belushi used to do it on SNL. Oh, I always wished I could do that.
My best friend growing up, she could do that, and she looks so badass.
Yeah, and my friend Jim Pruitt, he could always do that. So jealous. So when I saw Kaz do that, it's like, oh, man. Man.
Oh, okay. So I just want to say, Alex Leonis, she is at Alex Leonis on Twitter, and she ends her tweet stream with, Kaz is such a noodle boy. And now that's a quote if I ever heard one.
I keep thinking about Star Wars Celebration Chicago and how
Yeah.
many Resistance cosplayers there will be. And if someone shows up as Kaz with noodle arms,
Yes.
like very overextended, like puppeteering arms, just to get
Right.
that kind of movement, oh, I will leave the convention at that point, because what more can you see past that?
I love it. Oh, wow.
Now, I want to talk about Commander Pyre,
Okay.
who I call the Hasbro Trooper. This is the Gold Trooper.
Yes.
Because I'm still waiting for his big moment
Okay.
that displays why he's so unique. And in this episode, we get to see more of him. And
Wait,
I
isn't
waited-
this the first time we see him?
no, we saw him in the last episode.
We did.
Yes. Yeah, not too much.
Okay.
But in this episode, he got his due part, so to speak. And after he thought he saw the kids fall to their doom at the very end, he immediately reports to Phasma. Now, Pyre, the first rule of calling a death is seeing a body.
Maybe that's not his rule in the Star Wars universe.
No, that's the rule. Because he just saw a splash, he didn't see anything, and seconds later he's on the phone to Phasma.
right.
So I'm not believing this character. I want to see a unique moment.
Well, he did say to scan for life signs, and they did, and they saw the life signs dimming.
You know what? Technical equipment can fail.
It's true.
So I don't know why he didn't send a couple of ocean troopers down there.
Mm-hmm. Just to be sure.
Yeah, he just said, you know what? Let's just tidy this up, call into Phasma, and call it a day.
22 minutes, Richard. 22-minute episode.
But like I always say, a line of dialogue will go a long way.
What do you think he should have said?
Send some ocean troopers down there to look for a body.
Well, what? But then they wouldn't have found a body.
Right, but at least we would have thought, okay, he's thinking this through. He's going to at least follow through on his duty and to see that these kids are found and destroyed.
Okay, but then that would have left the episode on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and
I'm just saying.
and maybe at that point, Phasma could spring up from his hollow projector and say, "Hey, what's up?" And then he could maybe just jump the gun because it's Phasma right there, and he's like, yeah, no, that we're on top of it," and he's putting the cart before the horse.
Okay.
Which wouldn't really make him any better, but at least it would show that this guy's got some follow through.
Okay.
So I know it's only 22 minutes, but once again, a little line of dialogue will go a long way.
I can see that.
All right, now, what did you think were standout moments in this episode?
Okay, when you say standout moment, it's something that I remember after watching it for the first time. And I definitely thought, like I mentioned before, there was lots of cute moments in animation, especially when Kaz falls back over BB-8. So that to me stood out, definitely. Anything with BB-8, honestly, just stands out.
If this was done in the old-fashioned way with actual painted cells, I would want that cell.
Yes, definitely. Okay, that's a good way of looking at that.
For me, I've got an LOL moment.
Oh, well then. Here you go renaming things.
That should be a new part of the next episode. We'll have a standout moment and an LOL moment.
Okay.
Now, my LOL moment comes right after Commander Pyre spots Kel and starts the chase. And everyone is running down the stairs, and BB-8 is comically bouncing along.
Yes! Down the stairs,
Down
right?
the stairs, yeah.
Yeah.
Just seeing him like a basketball going was hysterical and definitely a laugh out loud moment.
Yeah. See, once again, anything with BB-8. I love it.
Can't go wrong.
All right. Well, another moment that I was thinking of after seeing it was we meet new creatures in the Star Wars galaxy. It was so exciting to see the Chelidai, which are basically, turtles in the Star Wars galaxy. So we'll get to them a little later, but I just wanted to mention them here.
Okay, worthy of a mention.
Yes.
Now, I love that we keep seeing Opie Pit. And he's the Lidsville character with the oversized orange head that looks like a Hostess snowball. Ever have those when you were a kid? The Hostess snowballs?
Oh, yeah.
Like a little cake inside with a marshmallow ball around it, like a sphere.
Yeah, we tried those a couple times, but the Hostess cupcakes kind of won over.
Yeah. If you haven't tried a Hostess snowball, don't. All right. So now in every show, we see him polishing up the hallways with his big Stanley steamer. And I love that because he's that recurring character and is always just polishing up the hallways. Now, wouldn't it be awesome if he were the one working for the First Order?
I think that would be cool. Have we heard him speak yet?
I don't know.
I don't think we have, so it would be interesting to know who voices him eventually. Because, he's always in the background.
He's played by Warwick Davis in The Force Awakens,
right.
So it only makes sense that Warwick Davis comes in and does a couple of lines.
I hope so.
But it's always the janitor or the butler that you never expect.
Yeah, that's very true.
So it would be awesome if he were the one that has been right there all along, right underneath their nose, keeping the Colossus clean.
Yes. All right, I have one more standout moment, and that is...
Oh, wait a minute. Oh. What if we... Once again, I'm going back to Star Wars Celebration Chicago. What if we saw just a horde of these characters?
That'd be cute.
Polishing up the floors.
Aww.
So if you're thinking about this character, please do it and bring your big Stanley steamer. Just be polishing up the floors at the convention hall.
That would be cool.
So awesome.
We'd have some very clean floors. They could come right after the
Wilrow Hoods.
Wilrow Hoods, yeah. Run through.
Maybe these guys are cleaning up after them.
Exactly. If the Wilrow Hoods actually had ice cream that's dripping.
Oh, I want to see so many of these characters.
I know.
Oh.
That would be awesome. Now, I have one more standout moment, and that kind of piggybacks on what you had said earlier, and that is when Kel and Ayla explained that Kylo Ren destroyed their village. We now have this connection with the overall Star Wars galaxy forming on this show.
All right, now let's move on to classic creatures.
Our specialities.
Our speciality. Thanks, Ewan.
Our speciality.
And unfortunately, there are no new classic creature appearances in this episode.
Aww.
They were on a tangent. Oh, what happened? There's so many more to choose from.
But there was new creatures, Richard.
All right, let's dive into these Chelidai. Now, I like them. Can I call them Teenage Mutant Chelidais?
Yes, please.
All right, good. I love these creatures because they're going to be the eyes and ears of the Colossus. And I've got a feeling that they will be the unsung heroes of the series since they're the ones keeping the Colossus running. So therefore, they are everywhere.
Yes, behind the walls, listening.
Yes. Yes. Just like OP Pit. Oh, maybe they're working with OP Pit.
Oh, perhaps.
OP Pit is working for the First Order, and the Chelidai are working for the Resistance.
Ooh.
So maybe they're working together, but at the same time apart. There's so much to deal with these secondary, ancillary characters.
Right. Now, StarWars.com once again posted a buckets list for this episode, Children from Tehar, and it gives us a bit more info on the Chelidai. So are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
They are the engineers of the Colossus, and they were designed to be the indigenous sentient species of Castellon. They are amphibious, but they prefer to live above the water, and they carry all their belongings with them on their shells. Now, this little fact was something I didn't notice until I watched a second time, and it's like, yeah, they have all their stuff like strapped to their shells all the time.
Well, if you're a Chelidai, we're also going to keep it.
Yeah, I guess. Well,
they don't have any pockets.
I guess their homes are their shells. They just go to sleep in there, so, okay. Well, the male Chelidai have facial hair, while the females do not, and this particular group or tribe all have similar nose rings. There's also a bonus fun fact, and how do we not like our bonus fun facts? The Chelidai species shares a name with a family of real-world turtles on our planet, which can be found in Australia, New Guinea, and parts of South America.
I want a Chelidai.
I know. They're so cool.
You know what? Let's ask our Australian friends like Ryan Stampley or Adam O'Brien to send us one.
Oh. Yeah, so that's really cool, and I'm glad that Bucket's list gives us a little more info on them than we got in the episode.
Now, I know I'm asking for too much, but I also want to see a horde of cosplayers roaming around as the Chelidai at Star Wars Celebration Chicago.
Now, as Chelidai, can they be allowed to have big giant backpacks?
All All right, so you're tapping into my hatred of backpacks at Celebration.
Big giant backpacks,
Because they keep knocking us down and taking up the whole aisle.
Right.
All right. Oh, I wasn't prepared for this kind of question. Oof.
But the Chelidai, it's kind of intrinsic to have
All right. You know what? Fine. The Chelidai cosplayers can have backpacks.
Good. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I never thought I would go there.
All right, before we get into musical moments, I want to bring up a few more fun facts from Bucket's list. Now, this is not the whole list, but it's just things we found interesting. So, Richard, would you like to start?
I'm going to start with the Ugnaught.
Ooh.
The Ugnaught vendor, and for some reason, they still have not given him a name.
Even though they've given him lines.
And he's played by D. Bradley Baker.
Right.
So I think that's worthy of giving a character a name. Now, once again, he's the vendor, a food vendor who has his own unique stand where he serves up a questionable menu of blue squid, ooh, purple kebabs, a mystery soup,
Oh boy.
and blue, wait for it, bacon.
Wait, isn't the Ugnaught like a pig?
Yes.
Okay,
So
that's weird.
Is this a form of cannibalism since the Ugnaught is a descendant of the pig?
And he also says, hey, if you're not going to buy it, I'll just eat it myself. Yeah.
Once again, are Ugnaughts cannibals? Whoa.
I don't know.
And his character, who's nameless, his design was based off one of the lineup of background characters created for the pitch for the show. So it's just a guy in the background. And they said, yep, he's the one, which is kind of how like they picked Admiral Akbar in Return of the Jedi. George Lucas showed Richard Marquand a line of characters. Okay, which one do you want to be Admiral Akbar? This background guy? Sure, all right.
That makes sense.
And
I
so
mean,
Akbar was born.
absolutely. All right, so talk about this blue bacon.
It's puffer pig bacon.
I love it. Puffer pig bacon is blue, apparently.
Yeah. And puffer pigs,
Yes,
we saw them in Star Wars Rebels.
right. Yeah, Lando has a particularly affinity to puffer pigs. Also, in this episode, we did get to see more of Bolza Gruul's Gorg stand and some signs. And luckily, Bucket's List translated them for us. And the sign says, most taste, best flavor, guaranteed. Sounds like Basic is not his first language.
Bolza, I'm guessing, is just like a big teddy bear behind the scenes when he's in his own apartment.
Right.
He curls up with a good book on a shag carpet.
I could see that.
And he's got like 4 or 5 kittens.
Aw.
And he's got My Little Pony, the Bantha edition, playing on his holopad.
But does he eat Gorgs?
No one should eat a Gorg.
Okay.
Or porgs. Now, in earlier versions of the script, the characters Kel and Ayla were named Bo and Dopa. Where have we heard those names before?
Bo Derek? I don't know.
Whoa! Did you just call out a 70s reference, Sarah?
I did.
Whoa. Oh my goodness. This is going to take a little while to process. I never thought you would say the name Bo Derek.
Who is Bo Derek?
She was a model in the 1970s
That's what I
and
thought.
up to 1980. She was in that big movie 10 with Dudley Moore.
She wasn't in Splash, was she?
That was Daryl Hannah.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
some iconic images of women of the 70s and very early 80s were, of course, Farrah Fawcett
Right.
in her bathing suit poster and Bo Derek running along the beach with her beaded dreadlocks.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so the fact that you mentioned her, I forgot where I was. What are we talking about now?
Well, okay, we're talking about Bo and dopamine in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. So Bo and Dopa is 1 and 2 in Huttese.
Oh, okay.
Now, I recall Jabba saying, Bo Shooter. But I don't recall him saying Dopa.
No.
Skywalkers, tweet at us. Where do we find Dopa in Return of the Jedi?
At Skywalking Pod.
I guess it wouldn't have to be Return of the Jedi. It could always be Phantom Menace
Okay.
or The Clone Wars. So find it for us, please.
Okay, now it's time for my speciality.
Can that be a new segment on this show?
I think so.
Specialities?
No, I think we're just going to introduce it by saying speciality. And we need some breaks with our lovely
Ewan McGregor?
Obi-Wan, yes, saying.
Sith Lords are our speciality.
All right, let's go watch that after this. All right, are we ready for a musical breakdown?
All right, so what is the first musical note that you have?
Well,
Get
actually,
it? Note,
I
musical
do.
note.
And I was going to riff off that.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, well, actually, it's where we don't have notes. Oh, are you ready? Now, we've always had music as scene buffers. You know what I mean? It's taking you from one scene into another, kind of smoothing the transition.
The incidental music.
Exactly. Now, this time, when we go from Yeager's garage to Aunt Z's cafe at the beginning, there's no music. There's just background sounds of the station. And I was actually a little perplexed by that until we get into the scene a little bit and we realize that the no music is to actually set up the moment when Kaz overhears the Godel and the Rhodian say,
20,000 credits?
Now suddenly you hear a harp ascending in a musical eyebrow raise as Kaz tunes in to their conversation. So the silence beforehand really made this musical moment stand out.
All right.
Well, once again, we're going to hear that harp when Kaz shows the mysterious symbol that fell off of Kel. Mm-hmm. He shows that symbol to Captain Doza. And again, when Captain Doza looks at it, at the symbol, so here it's a musical clues that are tuning you into the fact that this symbol means much more than what we see on the surface.
I hear you were seen in the marketplace with the two missing children, the ones with the rather large price on their heads.
Yes, sir. I accidentally took this from one of them.
It's actually unlocking a mystery that I think is going to continue throughout the season.
Or better.
Yeah.
Is there any connection to this phrasing that we've heard in another Star Wars soundtrack?
Well, the only thing I can think of is it's reminiscent of when Ben Kenobi takes off his hood and turns to the camera in his character reveal in Star Wars, A New
Yeah.
Hope.
You know what? I can hear that now.
Yeah.
Hello there.
I don't think there's any connection.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe there is a connection to Jedi.
Maybe the Force. Yeah.
The Force.
Something like that.
Because, like we were saying earlier, I think Kylo is on the scent of Luke Skywalker, and he's found Lor San Tekka, and maybe he's chasing Lor San Tekka from village to village,
right?
And being a believer and follower of the Force, maybe this does have some connection to a Jedi or the Force itself.
Yeah, but I do think we will hear it again and see that symbol again.
Yeah, now that you say it, of course, you're going to hear it
right.
every time they show that symbol.
Right.
Okay, you know what? That's a good connection.
Yeah, I liked that.
All right, now, can we talk about the Kylo Ren phrasing? The musical phrase that we hear whenever we see Kylo Ren?
What Kylo Ren phrasing, Richard?
Wait a minute, we saw Kylo's ship. Isn't it almost a given that we would hear his phrasing?
You would think so, but we don't.
Oh, what happened?
I know. We even now. I don't know if that's Kylo Ren's ship, but it certainly looks like it.
It definitely is Kylo's ship.
Yeah,
and the fact that we know that Kylo is after these kids makes sense, and Kylo's not going to give the keys to his ship to somebody else. So here, go find the kids, and I'll wait here.
So you think he's there on the station?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yes, I do.
Well, the music says otherwise, because in fact, there's no music at all when we see this ship fly into the station. But then in the marketplace, we see Commander Pyre for the first time in this episode. And here we get some big, bold, low brass notes to signify bad guys.
Move. Out of the way. Have they been through here?
They're coming. The ones you called the First Order.
What do you know about the runaways?
What? You said they wouldn't find me.
Okay, so we don't get Kylo's phrasing, but we do get a deep First Order / Commander Pyre theme.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now from musical breakdowns to one of our favorite segments. Hold on, this needs a musical introduction.
Okay.
Here comes Hoojib Cottontail, hopping down the Hoojib trail.
Aww.
You know what that means? It's time for Hoojib eggs.
Hoojib? Oh, you mean Easter eggs?
Easter eggs, yes. So we need to change this part to Hoojib eggs.
Okay.
# make Hoojibs canon.
Oh. Okay, well, I have one.
Okay.
Okay, so Commander Pyre is about to capture the kids when they fall into the water, which is, in quotes here. And immediately, Commander Pyre's trooper says,
Commander Pyre, Captain Phasma's trying to call. What should we tell her?
Uh-oh, we've heard that before.
yes, we have. This kind of sounds like Captain Nita, right when he lost the Falcon at the asteroid field. All of a sudden, Darth Vader was wanting an update.
Captain, Lord Vader demands an update on the pursuit.
We all know how that turned out.
Yes, and one of the biggest, darkest laugh out loud moments of The Empire Strikes Back.
Absolutely.
Apology accepted, Captain Nita.
How about if I don't accept the apology and let me live?
Yeah.
Now, I've got an Easter egg, or Hoojib egg.
Okay.
Not necessarily a Star Wars Easter egg, but more of a James Bond Easter egg.
Okay.
When Kel tells the herb vendor that he wants the plant with the sprigs removed, dried, not crushed.
No. The one with the sprigs removed. Dried, not crushed.
It reminded me of James Bond when he's asking for his drink. He says,
Martini, shaken, not stirred.
That's funny. I didn't get that. That Hoojib egg did not stand out to me.
It did to me. So as far as Easter eggs are concerned, those are pretty much the ones that we had spotted.
Exactly. So I think it's time to move on to our questions.
Yeah, this is when we leave the episode, but yet there's still lots of lingering questions that we have. Some are more rhetorical, and some where we just need to see if the Skywalkers have an answer.
Yeah. So Richard, why don't you start us off, because you have a few more questions than me.
Okay. Why do Kel and Ayla have yellow Sith eyes?
I don't think, because they don't have like red centers, right? They have like normal black centers, but they have the yellow
iris. Yeah. The only ones who have yellow irises are the Sith.
But I thought Sith have yellow iris and like a red, what is that called? In the middle, pupil.
Pupil?
Yeah.
Well, the key factor is that they have yellow irises. So I'm thinking this is part of a larger story.
Really?
Because, yeah, if you're working on Resistance and you're an animator, a colorist, you're going to know that yellow eyes denote Sith. Or I'm sure Dave Filoni is going to have to look at these before they go out since they have his name on it. There's all these Star Wars fans working on the show. So something like that is too big of a detail to miss. So I'm gonna say, like we've been saying the whole episode here, they've got a connection with the Force, the good or the bad.
Okay. I honestly think the yellow eyes just kind of denote they're depicting a different race for the kids.
Well, they're human.
Right. No, I mean, but like...
But they're yellow eyes.
I know.
Give them purple eyes, magenta. This wasn't like a goldenrod or a honey mustard. This was a yellow.
Okay. Okay, well, we have different points, and we'll see which plays out throughout this series.
Okay. All right, what you got?
Well, one of the questions, of course, is what that symbol on Kel's bracelet means. So that is my big question for this episode, and I think it's unlocking a whole new mystery. And we have some clues.
Now, I got a question that doesn't have anything to do with Tehar or the kids.
Okay.
Who is that Hoth trooper that keeps popping up? He's in quite a few scenes, and we've mentioned him quite a few times on Flyby. But who is this guy? They're always passing him. He's always at the bar.
Right.
And he's definitely a Echo Base Hoth trooper.
Well, but his colors aren't white, though.
But he's always in the background. So it could be, and he's in the shadows. He always has that greenish tint, and his vest is a lighter color.
Right.
But the design is definitely an Echo-based trooper. No getting around that, okay?
Well, maybe
No.
he's just... No. I'm just saying maybe he's a skinny guy and gets cold easily.
Yeah, but he's always there.
I know.
He's always there.
Well, the station's a pretty small place.
It's a pretty big place. It's got 4 marketplaces.
Well, yes,
like 4 mini malls.
But Marketplace A is where our characters go to a lot, and so maybe the same people frequent this Marketplace A and Z's.
But my point is, he keeps popping up.
Okay.
They might just need a character to stick in the background. They go, whose model do we have all ready to go?
Right.
This Hoth Trooper.
Yes.
But they're going to know that. People like us will be picking these apart.
I know.
And it's a Hoth Trooper. It's not like he's Joe Mimban that they just stick in the back. This guy has a definite look that we all know.
Okay.
And like we said earlier, why don't we give the Ugnaught vendor a name?
I know, the poor guy. We hope he has a name.
All right. And now, speaking of names, who is Yanni?
Yes.
He's voiced by Bobby Moynihan, and he's popped up in several credits. And this time, he was the number 1 character below the main characters in the end credits.
That's right.
So, he's a significant character, but who is he? We've asked on Twitter, we've asked everywhere, we've gone through so many character references for Resistance, and he's never mentioned.
Maybe we should ask Bobby Moynihan.
We have.
We have?
Yeah.
He doesn't know? Or he hasn't responded?
Hasn't responded. Yeah.
All right. Well, we definitely want to know who Yanni is. So if you know Skywalkers, or if you've heard something, please tweet at us at SkywalkingPod.
This is killing me.
Okay, so before we end our episode, let's go through some final thoughts here and see if they have changed.
All right.
Richard?
Now, I'm just hoping that this is not a one-off episode, because there's so much story behind these kids and Tehar. And with so many unanswered questions, I wish that this had been a 2-parter with both parts airing the same night. So, it's like I said earlier, it's very hard to judge this episode seeing how we only saw a very small fraction of the story. And as bumbling as Kaz is, he keeps coming up with life-saving plans every episode.
Yep.
Yeah, this time, there was no Hong Kong Phooey moment where BB-8 actually steps in and saves the day, like he's done in the past. And like I said before, the Hong Kong Phooey moment is when Hong Kong Phooey is about to save the day, but screws it up, and the cat comes in and really does all the work. Well, so far in Resistance, it's been BB-8 who's stepped up and completed the mission.
Right.
But this time, it's actually Kaz who saves the day with his plan of, hey, let's pretend the kids are going to fall into the ocean, but really it'll be the Cheladice.
Yeah.
Good plan. Very good plan.
Very quick thinking.
And the fact that they could slow down their life readings. Fantastic plan by Kaz. So, Kaz, big high five.
All right, my final thoughts. Again, when I first saw this episode, I was a little underwhelmed. But on researching for this flyby and watching it again, it seems that there's a mystery to uncover with the Tehar symbol. And also, we hear Kylo Ren mentioned as ransacking another village. So this episode not only introduced a mystery, it also tied Star Wars Resistance to the larger Star Wars galactic story. So for these reasons, my mind was turned on this episode after going through all this research and stuff for this show. So I'm really glad that we're doing these flybys, because I would never have dug so deep into it had we not been doing this. And I really enjoyed this episode.
There were a lot of parts of this episode to enjoy, and I think that all goes to the animation.
Right, yeah.
But for storytelling, we just need a little bit more at this point. We've kicked in to the story, to the whole plot of Resistance.
Tapped into it.
Let's keep it moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm very excited to see the next episode. Well, that wraps up our Resistance flyby of The Children from Tehar. So once again, thank you for your support, Skywalkers. If you would like more Skynet in your life, check out skywalkingforce.com. It's where we plus up our content and offer little extras just for you. There are different levels of support available, which include extra shows, an exclusive t-shirt design, and free stuff. So be a part of the Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com. Now, if you'd like to support us in a different way, please share the show with a friend or click on the links to Pozu shoes, Oppo suits, or TeePublic on our website, skywalkingthroughneverland.com.
And of course, we always love to hear from the Skywalkers on social media. We are at Skywalking Pod for Twitter and Instagram. And if you haven't already, come join our group on Facebook.
Yes, you can search Facebook for Skywalking Through Neverland group. You can request to join and then answer those 2 questions that pop up.
There are so many people in there who are waiting to join, but they haven't answered the questions.
Indeed.
Rules are rules. And you can always email us at share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. And we really hope to hear from the Skywalkers because there are so many unanswered questions, and I'm sure they have differing opinions.
Yeah, we'd love to read any emails on the show that we get. So please email us your thoughts or suggestions.
So, Skywalkers, we will be back next week with the episode Signal from Sector 6, which airs on November the 11th. Bye, Skywalkers!
Fly by! All right, I have one more standout moment, and that is when Kel and Ayla...
Ayla. I looked at this clip 1,000 times to make sure we got it right.
Okay, well, StarWars.com once again posted a buckets list on this episode, Children of Tehar, and...
I did the same thing.
Okay, now... Oh, that sounded stupid, I don't know why.
I was into it.
Speciality.
Dealing with Sith Lords are a speciality.
I love him. Okay.
Now, what are the chances Kaz is going to enter Aunt Z's at that moment and sit on that stool so close to the Godel and the Rodian where he can hear this very, very vital information?
Well, when you're thinking about something, sometimes you overhear stuff that applies. So I can understand. He was thinking about money, and all of a sudden he hears 20,000 credits.
As an 8-year-old, I would have said, oh, come on.
Yeah.
What are the chances?
Really?
Yeah. But you're right. Yeah. But maybe if he was just passing by and he heard, you're right, his mind would have tuned into them saying 20,000 credits.
Okay. Yeah.
And then,
that's what I think. That's what I think. But really, it's
6-1. He had to hear that information to get the story moving.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I'm there.
And you're there. Okay.
My 8-year-old self might not be there, but yeah, I'm there.
Okay.
Vodka, martini, shaken, not stirred.
You'll insert it.
Yeah.
Short show, huh? 109.